You've made it to your last module. We're in module 8, and we're now going to talk about how you've made it out of debt. Congratulations, you're out of debt now. And now how do we stay out of debt? We want to keep saving, we want to keep investing, we want to keep having more funds every month that are for us, not paying some institution interest. That's the goal here. So now that we're out, how do we stay out? We never want to get in this bad cycle again. So the first and foremost thing is, if you can't afford the debt, don't get it. So now that you've budgeted and you know the payment and you know your discretionary income, if you cannot afford that payment, or if you couldn't afford to write a check for all the interest up front, you can't afford that debt. Do not get debt that you cannot afford. Do not get another credit card if you think you're going to rack up that balance again and start getting this nasty cycle again. Don't get debt you can't afford. Be aware of your finances. Be aware of your budget and how much you have to spend. Again, even break it down per day if you want. Like I said, break down your income per day. Break down that discretionary income per day. If you've taken your income, minus out all your expenses, minus your savings, and you've got this number left over, take that and divide that into 30 days or whatever number you want to use for the month, and give yourself a spending amount per day. This is how much I get per day. I've done this with people. Sometimes it's $26 for a day that you get to spend. It makes you think differently every time you pull up to that drive-through that chops into your 26 bucks that you have to spend for a day. And if you skip a day where you didn't spend anything, now you've got $26 from that day rolling over into this day. Now you've got $52 to spend that day. It adds up. When you're aware of your finances, powerful things happen. You won't get back into the same situation if you know what you can afford. The second thing is, if you can't make a minimum payment on a credit card, so if you want to go get that mattress or that piece of furniture and they tell you what the minimum payment will be, even if it's 0%, if you can't even make that minimum payment, you cut up that credit card, you don't get that debt, that goes back to not being able to afford the debt. But let's say you already have another credit card that had a low interest rate, cut it up. If you cannot make at least the minimum payment, you're again getting it back in that routine of digging out of a hole. Cut up your credit cards that you know get you in trouble. Just be proactive and know yourself and get ahead of it. Just don't get back into that situation of things that you can't afford. Stay ahead of it in what you can afford. So that brings me to our next tip. Don't ever go to cash stores. Just don't do it. Just don't go to those places that give you this instant gratification of handing you cash right away when you need it most. That's powerful. That's why they're successful. They're giving you cash for money that you need right away, and that's powerful. And you don't think about the ramifications of later, of the money that you're going to have to pay back. You don't think about that when they're handing you the cash. So just stay away. It's like, like when I eat too much chocolate, like just don't buy it. Just don't eat it. Just don't go there. It's just a good practice to stay away. If you just stay away, you won't get back into the same situation. And my final tip, if you are just really bad with money, and you know this, and now after going through this course, you're aware that you're just bad at spending, or maybe it causes strife between you and your spouse. Maybe he's constantly telling you, or she's constantly telling you, stop spending money, and you have issues. What I want you to do is I want you to get rid of your debit cards, your credit cards. I want you to get cash. Let's say in my example, you get 26 bucks a day to spend. Get out cash, and you will not go over. You will not overspend. You will not withdraw that bank account that gives you overdraft fees that just keep coming every day. You won't get those late payments on credit cards or on loans that you couldn't make because you spend too much money. You won't get yourself into that situation. Just take cash out of the bank and use cash. That way you can't overspend. Take it out for the whole week if you don't want to do it by day, if that's too much heavy lifting for you. Do it for the week. Give yourself your allowance for the week. Give yourself $100 for the week. And you've got that for the whole week. And you will learn to spend within your means. You will learn to not spend money that you don't have. So these are the tips. This is how we stay out of debt. Let's recap real quick. Don't get debt you cannot afford. This includes knowing your budget and knowing what you can afford, knowing how much discretionary income you have each month. That's what you can afford. That's how much money you have left over. If you can't pay the minimum payment on something, either don't get that debt or cut up that credit card. You're done with it. You can't get any more debt on that credit card because you already can't afford the minimum payment. Cut it up. Don't go to the cash stores. Don't go to the payday advance stores. Don't go. Just stay away. Again, it's like a bad habit that you're addicted to. Just stay away. Don't go there, and it won't happen. You won't get in these awful situations where you're just paying institutions lumps of money to just get quick cash. It's ridiculous, and it will get you into trouble. And finally, if you are bad at budgeting and you can't handle a credit card or a debit card, maybe you don't budget your bank account. Maybe you're not that person that logs into your account every night and sees how much you've spent from your debit card during the day. Maybe you don't keep a physical checkbook that you keep your balance in, and you're just bad with spending. Take out cash. Give yourself an allowance now that you know your discretionary income. Take out your own allowance and give yourself $100 for a week to spend. And you can't go over because you only have that cash, and when you're out, you're out. That's it. So you can force yourself to be good. This is an extreme way, but an easy way to just stay on top of things. And you know, being on top of things is all these things we've talked about, obviously. Managing your debt, keeping track on a spreadsheet, and knowing your discretionary income, and knowing your priorities in your debt. That's responsible. If you want to take it to the next level, again, if you're just bad at spending and you're going to have to take cash out, one thing you can do additionally is shop interest rates. So if you're going to get debt, if you're going to get a new car, you can ask banks to give you their interest rates. You can ask the car place, the finance place, what's your interest rate? Shop interest rates, So you may not be great at spending, but then become a savvy shopper with debt at least. Shop your interest rates, shop the terms. Maybe another place will give you a lower interest rate with a different term, So maybe it's the same interest rate, but you just get longer to pay it off. So things like this, you can now be that savvy person that knows your debt and knows your spending, and now you can even take it one step further and shop around your interest rates and be really good at getting the best debt possible. Turn all that debt into good debt. So we have talked about a lot in this module. Really quick, don't get debt you don't afford. You can't afford. If you can't afford the minimum payment, cut them up. Don't go to the cash stores ever. Just don't even walk in. If you're really bad at money, take out cash and give yourself an allowance and shop those interest rates. Become that savvy debt shopper. You have made it through the course. We're going to summarize in the next video, and then you've completed it. So let's move on.